everybody. Reggie Austin here.
And Robin Reed.
Hi, Colleen Basis, and welcome to the business, the workshop.
The virtual
workshop. Today, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to look at the camera, but I'm just gonna look at.
What do I do with my hands?
There we go. And that's something we can talk about. Today, we're just gonna do, hopefully, like kind of just a quick sort of state of the industry and maybe a little what's happening now, and talk about what is probably, or we anticipate coming down the pipe for sort of the new normal in the foreseeable future. And Robin is gonna, I think, kick us off with voiceover.
Disclaimer, all of this is subject to change at any moment. But what I've been seeing lately in my personal career, my auditions have kept coming, but maybe about half of what I was normally getting. As I said, I think at the top of quarantine, I did an Instagram Live about Source Connect, and everyone was kind of, what do I need for a home studio? Because that was the way that people were going to be able to work. I mentioned that all of the reads right now are like, we're in this together. We're going to hold your hand and get through it because we're your bank that gets you through these kinds of situations. So I feel like that's what all commercials are right now. Everything I've seen commercially is that way. Animation is still happening. I feel like people I know who are on shows, I think, are still recording. I know some people have been sent setups, have been sent microphones to kind of keep everything uniform. Auditions are still coming, I assume, for later down the road. It's more the commercial stuff that is home studio, record yourself through Source Connect. As a coach, what I have seen in that is I've seen some people kind of hitting the panic button. I think the idea of agents reached out at the top of this to ask, what's your home studio capability? What do you have? What's your setup? Can you record yourself? And I think something flipped in people that made them feel like this was the time, this is when they're really going to book. So they need a whole home studio. Someone told me, my agent said I need to get this Sennheiser microphone. And I was like, do you have $3,000 lying around that you might not need at some point? That isn't, if you have it, cool. But having a big fancy setup does not necessarily position you to work over someone who has a plug-in mic. A quiet space is definitely key. I don't think you're necessarily more likely to book now than before, just by virtue of the fact that there are fewer opportunities. There may be fewer people capable of doing the jobs, but I don't think in that regard really anything has changed. I know personally I still do my auditions and promptly forget about them, which keeps my sanity. That and the drinking. So plan B after this, if the industry doesn't come back, I'm opening a rehab. It's gonna be lots of soft surfaces.
Yeah.
So that's about, I think, what I have seen. I'm coaching some people. I'm coaching some new clients. I think, now is not really, I can't record a demo in a studio with someone, but I think if you want to send me all your unemployment money, like, now's a good time to practice and prep for when we do come out of this to be kind of at your fighting weight. But yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah. If people are getting pressure from, maybe not pressures or encouragement from their agents to get kind of certain setups, because I know Austin went through that with a job that he had kind of booked, or he was pinned for before, like literally like a week before everything stopped. And then there was a whole back and forth about his setup and his mic, and he had to take pictures, and his agent is pretty reasonable. But one thing I did realize is these voiceover departments at a lot of these agencies used to be kind of like, oh, whatever, that's voiceover, good for them. And right now, those agents are under a microscope because now that's what's going to maybe keep some of these agencies afloat for a little while.
Absolutely.
So I think one of the things I said to him was like, just remember, like he's getting pressure that he's never felt before. So you have to kind of like do what you can, but also say like, I don't have the budget to buy a $500 mic. So if they want me for this job, like, great, I want to do it. But if they need a particular mic, they're going to have to send it to me and I'll send it back when I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
All disinfected.
Yeah. Again, what's most important is having a quiet space as sound dampened as possible. Technology is great. You know, the way that mics have gotten better and cheaper since I started buying them. But I recorded jobs for television on a Blue Snowball back in the day. Is it the best mic? No. But for the money and for
Yeah.
For the learning curve, it's a plug and play. You know, you just plug it in and go. I also, the caveat is I don't have the ear for this. If a proper sound engineer heard me talking, he'd be like, no, none of that.
But for now, what is like an iPhone in your car on a quiet street at the end of the day, like, yes, it's not the professional whatever, but it's better than nothing. Like, is
so the thing with that is you can't do a job on a phone, right? The microphone on a phone, I still think in a pinch for an audition, but if you send a phone audition into your agent, you have to remind them that you have a home studio setup that you can record the job on. Because there is so much of, like right now, especially for commercial, because commercial is a faster turnaround. By the time they're booking VO and casting VO, the spot's locked and ready to go. So it is, you know, you could record an audition and book the job tomorrow. Where animation is a longer process. They could be just collecting auditions now for something that's planned for next year. But yeah, as there's also a big thing that was getting talked about for a while is Source Connect, which is an app on your computer that allows a remote studio to record you from there. So like you'd think at this point I would have learned a better, swifter definition of it, but it's like sharing your screen, except they have your mic goes in there. I'm a professional. But Source Connect is also an investment. It's, I think, $35 a month. And it's not something that's necessary unless you're doing a job. You don't need Source Connect to audition. Someone asked me to coach them on Source Connect. I was like, no, why? I don't need to do that. I think there is a learning curve to it though. So I've encouraged people to download the free version and just get used to that and just see how it moves and how to set it up, what it is to open it. But yeah, I feel like a lot of my work lately has just been like tamping the emotions down for myself too. I mean, I may seem calm and collected, but there's some bouncing off the walls sometimes.
Yeah. I think that's a good segue into the theatrical world, which is, I think it's my job as a coach has been a similar thing, which is like trying to kind of give context and framework for a lot of things, opportunities that might be here now. Obviously, there is nothing in production unless you live in Iceland or South Korea or are on a really popular soap opera called Neighbours in Australia. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like, that's literally, those are the only places that are shooting right now in the world. So there may be one thing in like Latvia. Again, I'm not exaggerating. Some Mickey Rourke.
Some made up place.
Yeah. So, you know, obviously right now nobody is working. in terms of on productions. And there are a few auditions here and there, but most of it is for stuff that's like in the fall. And
one that was TBD. So
yeah,
it was just like, oh,
TBD.
okay, like, yeah.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is really for the foreseeable future, the new normal is going to be self-tapes. It just is. And again, I think, you know, really the opportunities right now are to kind of figure out your process, your shit. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube, but whatever. Right now, and using the things that are happening, any audition you have, or the time that you're taking to work on that as just, it's practice. It's just practice. So I think a lot of people have been doing open calls. And there have been several for some larger casting offices, NCIS, and Reggie, you've booked NCIS before, right?
Yeah.
Right. So someone like Reggie, who's really booked a significant part, is probably, his agents weren't asking him to do this open call because they know him and he booked. And you know, they did this huge open call. I think that was the biggest thing. I actually had 7 sessions this week coaching people for it. And, you know, I think a lot of actors, I think the biggest thing is remembering that this is all just, you know, laying the groundwork for when production goes back. So there's nothing to book right now. Anything you're doing is just you showing up with your work, you know, your vibe, your voice, your take on the audition, so that they know who you are if they didn't before. Or, for example, Austin did it because he shaved his head. He's gone in for that office several times. He booked a million years ago a co-star when he was really young and had big floppy hair. And he thought, well, I want them to know who I am now and what I do now. So, and I shaved my head. So like, you know, I look different. He's probably going to grow it out again, but he doesn't know. So I think that's really right now for theatrical, is what's happening is just opportunities to do monologues, do scenes, submit them to these open calls. And I think letting go of a result from that, because they're not casting a job. You're not going to get a part. It's just this laying of the groundwork of like, this is who I am. So, and I think a lot of the casting directors are doing this because this adds value to their business, which is when things start up again, they get to go to producers who are looking for casting directors and say, I have 10,000 actors at my fingertips, whose tapes I've seen, who I know who they are, you know, and in terms of casting, I'm already starting ahead.
So are they watching 10,000 auditions?
They are. And I think in a big office like Lucy and Kennedy, I think they got almost 70,000, maybe more submissions.
Jeez.
I'm sure there's a lot of division of labor. And I think there's probably also a lot of categorizing of like, you know, so that they can easily, when they go back into production, just be like, oh, we need this kind of person. It's like, boom, we can open up a file and there are 300 actors who fit this. So they are watching them. And here's the thing, casting directors dig on watching actors. They want to watch 1,000 self-tapes. They dig on it, man. That's why they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
They love watching actors. They love seeing, you know, interesting people. They love the fact that right now, in all of this chaos, they're getting to discover people they never would have last, you know, if this hadn't happened. So I think, but it's also remembering as actors, especially if you're somebody who's up and coming, that the stakes are still relatively low. Like this is just your introduction.
It's like sending a headshot back in the day.
Yeah. And it's also like, you know, your whole world isn't going to blow up and your career's not going to change. You're not going to be famous, because of an open call. Like, if you get noticed and if you get positive feedback from a specific casting director, that's amazing. There's still a ton of work to do. You know, so I think kind of approaching it from that perspective of like, you know, this is just, we're all doing the best we can right now. And really, what can I show up with in my tape in a really smart and present way? And I think really knowing who you're sending that open call take to and what kind of shows and movies that they are probably going to cast in the future. Yeah. Hi, Peter.
I think that in general, that's a good thing to remember or be thinking about. I think that's come out of this is that, so we all went into quarantine. It's all been crazy, and I feel like it's been interesting to see like the evolution of the artist's mindset, or like I'm thinking of even just myself, but I think I'm not unique in this, is that it's sort of figuring out what's happening. Oh man, we're under quarantine. What does that mean? And all this stuff like that. And then you get to a point where you realize one, how much things are going to change, and two, how nothing has changed in terms of you, in terms of like who you are and what you can do, what you can bring to the table.
Yeah.
It's caused this weird like distilling where I feel like for me, I get caught up in like work. I'm an independent contractor. I go from job to job. So it's just like, when's the next one? Let's go, let's keep going, let's keep moving. And you just sort of get caught up in this like rhythm or machine of things, the way things go. And I think a lot of times you forget the fact that you're an artist. Forget the fact that you create, that you do, you know, are talented, that you do all these different things just for its own sake. And I feel like it's May now. For me, my kids' school shut down March 13th was their last day of school. And I feel like it's taken probably until now in dealing with kids in school and also just being fortunate enough to have, you know, things that have aired. I had a few things that I had shot before quarantine started to air. So I had that. So like, okay, so that's still part of I'm still going on. And it's taken now where like the last thing I shot has aired. I got nothing. Clip's empty. Like, and I can't continue with the normal way of, but I can still create. I'm still an artist. I'm still all of these things. And it's just, I feel like finding ways to remember that and express that in quarantine, there's so much value in that, in remembering your artist, like without just getting super out there and whatever. Like,
I bought a ukulele.
What's that?
Bought a ukulele.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, see, there you go. You know, but like just remembering that you're an artist and being creative and like having there be space for that. And I think that self-tapes are a way of doing that, even if you're not submitting an open call, even just like, do you even, I'm talking to myself, do you own a tripod? I still don't, because
Reggie,
it's terrible, right?
You were told.
Not terrible. You have to do it. You have to do it right now. This
is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I feel like it really took like me running out of stuff. It's just like, okay, like, well now, like Nicole, my wife, the other day was just like, she said in a totally not accusing way, in a lovely way, like genuinely asking, not secret. She's like, so what's your plan? And it was just like, that's good. I like that. That's fair. That's fair. Like, but truly just ask me, like, where are you going? Like, what's going on? What's happening? What are you doing? And I feel like just having that in your mind of you're still an artist. And yes, the industry we're in a crazy time and the industry is going to change because of it. But they're still actors. They're still artists. There's still art to be created and to be made. How are you going to go about doing that? And I think self-tapes and stuff are going to be a huge part of it. So get on it.
I think
really impressed people who are just making stuff. Like I've seen so many of my students on Instagram just trying. And like I had a conversation with a friend last night. She was like, I'm doing these dumb, and our other friend was like, not dumb. None of it is dumb. Like if you can have an idea and execute it, it doesn't matter. Like just keep your, it's like continuing to work out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's also remembering sort of in the business context that, and this is something that I keep saying and I mean to like put on Instagram, but it's like the industry is literally built on people who are creative problem solvers. Like that's their job. Like producers, casting directors, grips, hair and makeup, FX, VFX, stuff like that. Their job is like, it's 12 noon and we need to make it look like night. How do we do that? Like on a normal thing. So all this is to most of these people is just another problem to solve, right? Like it's the stakes are higher because we need people to be healthy and we want our industry to thrive, and content will run out. I mean, people joke about finishing Netflix, but like there really is only so much content. So we need more of it. And so I think actors tapping into that for themselves of like, oh, right, I'm a creative problem solver too. Somebody hands me a 2-page scene with very little information, and it's my job to solve the problem of how to make this come to life and work. Using all this information of knowing what show I'm auditioning for, tone, all that kind of stuff. And I think right now on every level, that's really the muscle to build, which is being a creative problem solver. So if I don't have a tripod, fine. How do I do a self-tape? Right? I don't have lights. I don't have a circle light, or I don't have umbrella lights. What do I do about that? Right? Like it doesn't have to be perfect. I just need the viewer to hear and see my choices as an actor with the least amount of distractions. How you do that, they don't really care. They're only seeing the result of that creative problem solving. Same with your choices as an actor in theatrical auditions, right? Like they only know that what they see are the result of your choices. So I think that going forward in every medium is just going to be the biggest thing is like, are you somebody who can show up and roll with it? Like we were going to shoot this today and now we can't, or we thought we could shoot it from this angle and that puts you guys only 2 feet from each other and we can't do that. Like you guys have to film this scene 6 feet from each other and you have to make it seem like you're right here talking to each other. Like we're going to make it work in editing and with the camera angles and stuff, but internally as an actor, you have to know how to do that and figure it out. Because I think self-tapes at least till 2021.
Oh yeah.
Maybe longer.
2020 is over.
Yeah.
It's not like asterisk year. Like we'll just skip that.
Totally. Yeah. So, getting comfortable with self-tapes, figuring that out, and most of it is just trial and error. It's just being kind to yourself and compassionate with yourself, and just like Robin said about Sound Connect, it's like just play with it.
There's a free version.
Right. So figure it out. If you have questions, that's what Google is for. Yeah. How do I do this on Sound Connect? I guarantee you there's some thread on Reddit about it. And, so I think that from a theatrical standpoint is really about being a creative problem solver and knowing there are things that are going to happen that I don't have an answer to. Like, how do I do a Zoom audition? Like where's my eyeline in a Zoom audition? And I'm like, let's figure it out. I don't know. That's new for me too. So that also might be like, maybe you just ask the person you're talking to and you be ready for both things. Like your eyeline's here or your eyeline's talking to the person you're talking to. So I think it's using a lot of critical thinking, a lot of trial and error, and realizing and accepting that nobody knows what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, is one of the hardest things to remember, because it's, I mean, I feel like this is such a common refrain. These are such crazy times, and there's certain things you hear all the time. But it really is true. It's crazy that we have not been outside for an extended period, just without gloves and masks and things, and like walking down the street and seeing someone else and like freezing for a second. Are you going to go to the street? Am I gonna? Are we gonna? How are we gonna do? It really is crazy, and I think there's this sense of like, I think the reality of the situation and the like our fears and desires are kind of like, don't know how to like mesh, like, because you could be struggling to find work or looking for an agent or on a show but trying to take the next step, all different levels of a career, but like things are pretty much normal. So things are, yeah, there's fears and concerns or whatever, but like things are normal, so it's okay. It's a regular rocky ship or whatever. But I think right now, with the fact that things are not normal and there's the unknown and then your own fears of what things, we don't know how to make heads or tails of kind of anything right now. And that's a very weird place to be, because right now, Denzel Washington is not freaking out. Dude is not like, what am I gonna do like, no, like all the A-list and B-list, all the people who are firmly established are not worried about this. It's just like, oh, like this is really hard, bummer, but I know I'm gonna work after this and I know things are gonna be fine. Versus the working actors, the up and coming actors, the looking to start their career, all of that, things are a little different for them and for us. Like it's the unknownness of it is even more than usual. So it's figuring that out. But it's like Colleen was saying, it's like be a creative problem solver. Figure out what that looks like, and even as you're figuring it out, be creative in it. Like find moments, like just yesterday, I didn't actually do it because for various stupid reasons, but buddy of mine, Chris Palaha, has been doing this thing. Every Friday, he's been doing an Instagram live, basically talk show, kind of. Like, he'll just hop on and talk about whatever. He'll invite people on, either other, friends of his in the business or other random people, and do stuff. So then I think he did yesterday was we're going to do a song. Whoever has songs to sing, come and share a song and whatever. So I was just like, and I had this moment, I was just like, oh, that's cool. Moving on, whatever. But it's just like, no, like I can sing and that'd be fun. I should do that. Let me take that step of like being creative in an environment that I'm not super comfortable with. Because that's the other thing too. We're talking about like self-tapes. This thing is weird. It's weird. Like, and I know that I work with cameras and I do all that, but like, I am not an Instagram dude. I'm not a like, hey, what's up? I'm here. I'm doing this. But like, that's not. I'm old. Like I didn't grow up with all this, so just it's very different. So figuring out, again, it's how you adjust, how you creatively problem solve. This is the world we're in right now. So like doing this is now a thing. You should at least be a little comfortable with it because of the way that things are. That's a new thing you're going to have to adjust to. So it's, I don't know. I feel like it's figuring all these things out and realizing the adjustments you're going to have to make as an actor. And that's such a huge thing, just period, as an actor, whether it's theatrical, commercial, voiceover, anything. If you can't make an adjustment, if you can't take a note and then be able to, that's one of the hugest things about being an actor and doing it well, is being able to take a note, internalize it, and then give back the thing that's being asked of you. And right now, pretty much the world is asking you to like do something different, because we all have to.
I like that. I feel like that's a good spot to wrap it up.
Yeah.
maybe we can just all end with how to find us if you want to reach out to us.
Yep.
I'm on Instagram at Colleen Basis. You can hit up my website, colleenbasis.com. And it's spelled this way. I'll just do my little thing.
Are you gonna put it on the screen like a?
I might be. I mean, I can do that. I'll have to see how much time I have.
I don't know.
I will tell you that I am now a master iMovie editor, so there's that too. That's
Nice.
one new skill coming
I
out.
bought a ukulele that I don't know how to play.
Yes.
Yes. So please, reach out. Instagram, I would say for me, is the one I'm most comfortable with and the one I most pay attention to. So if you're looking to reach out to me on social, at Colleen Basis.
Cool. I'm at Robin Reed VO, robinreedvo.com. 2 weeks from today, I'm doing a workshop with an audiobook narrator named Nicole Poole. She's an award-winning narrator of something like 200 books. We're going to get into, because that's another thing that's come up, not to segue back into it, but audiobooks are still being recorded from home, which is pretty normal. So we're going to talk about how to make that happen, what you need to set up, what you need to read, how you need to read it, all that good stuff. $50 via Zoom. Information at robinreed.com.
Nice. So I was looking at my phone because I could not remember what my handle were. That just gives you a sense of how on it I am with all
We're
this.
going to work on that, Reggie.
Yes, I'm getting better.
Want to reach Reggie? We'll get it.
But I've gotten better. I think I've gotten a lot better. But my Twitter handle is at Reggie_Austin, and then my Instagram is at Reggie Austin 2. I've actually been posting there regularly now, like once a week, doing some stuff. I'm trying to get better about it. But yeah, I mean, just real quick, also commercial wise, we didn't talk about it too much for a good reason, because commercials are pretty much dead right now. Television commercials, I haven't had any auditions for them, and just because of the way the commercials work, where the turnaround is so fast, they can't plan out to do these because they can't shoot them because we're social distance. So that's kind of dicey. But I'm do theatrical as well as commercial. So and I've had like 1 or 2 auditions for that over Zoom. But anyway, it's all stuff we're all learning. We're all trying to figure this out. But yeah, hit me up on Twitter or Instagram whenever.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Dig
Thanks
it.
for watching.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.